the Oxnard College Literature, Arts, and Lecture Series. I'm Shelley Saverin, and if you are new to this series, you can sign our mailing list if you'd like, and we will get you flyers for the future events. Last person who came in, can I ask you to go back and shut that door because it's loud?
I'll get it.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, so first I want to tell you about next week's event. We always have these events at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays, for the semester. And next week we have Sephardic music from the Eastern Mediterranean. They're called Flor de Canela. So it should be really good. And then it's followed by a poetry reading, and then we have a concentration camp survivor coming after that. So you can pick this up in the lobby. This particular one gives you everything, and then there's individual flyers. So today I'm very excited to have the Chicano messenger of hip hop and spoken word. Paul Flores is a poet, playwright, and spoken word artist. He explores the intersections of urban culture, hip hop, and transnational identity. His performances have taken him from HBO's Deaf Poetry to Cuba, Mexico, and El Salvador. San Francisco Weekly named him Best Politically Active Hip Hop Performance Artist, and KQED honored him as a Latino Heritage Local Hero for his work in theater and youth development. Recently named the 2015 Doors Duke Artist, Flores is a theater professor at University of San Francisco. Let's give him a very warm
My name is Paul Flores. I am a poet from San Francisco, originally from the border where I grew up in Chula Vista, California. So if anybody knows where that is. I'm going to be performing a few poems for you tonight. Today. Can't tell how many folks are here. It'll be very interesting, the back and forth I'm going to have with my translators when I start busting in Spanglish. Should be really interesting to see how good they translate that, right? Can you translate "Fuimos a la marqueta, pero no encontramos parking"? I don't know if she did she? Anyway, raise your hand if you speak Spanish out there. Okay, cool. So about a little bit, around half, maybe a third. Cool. So raise your hand if you know what Spanglish is. Excellent. Good. So Spanglish, I just did a Spanglish sentence right there for her. But shout out a Spanglish word if you know one. Okay. So Spanglish is the combination of Spanish and English. Right? So some words that we use in our communities who speak both, who were raised with both, might be a word like really basic, lonche, really basic, simple, lunch, right? We like to change the way words sound to make them sound more Spanish-y, right? So like a word like keiki, okay, that sounds kind of like a Spanish word. Or how about, I got this story when I was in Houston. I was driving down this street called Lawndale with my friend Brian. And in Texas, everybody's got big trucks, so you know we're elevated, we're up high. And I'm in the passenger seat, and we're stopped at a light, right? And I hear a little knock next to me, like somebody's knocking. Remember, Brian's got a high truck, so I look out. I don't see nothing, right? I see cars below over there, but I don't see nothing. I say, Brian, someone's like knocking on the door. Did you hear someone knocking? He turns on the radio. What'd you hear? It was like. I look out on my window, I look down, and there's a dude out there with a can, like a coffee can, asking for money in a wheelchair. I said, Brian, there's a guy in the street right now outside the car, and he's in a wheelchair, and he's asking for change. What do we do? He says, oh, don't worry about that guy, just give him a quarter, because he's just wheelando down Lawndale. So wheelando is also a Spanglish word. Take that one home with you. Wheelando. Add ando to anything with a vowel sound. That sounds kind of like a Spanglish word. I'm going to do this poem first for you that really kind of expresses that living in between or with both, not only both languages, but both cultures. Because to me, Spanglish is itself its own culture, okay? So I'm half Cuban and I'm Mexican, right? So I'm both. And I grew up, my grandmother didn't speak any English, so most of my Spanish will often sound very Cuban. But because I grew up on the border, it also sounds like, super Chicano. So I'm going to throw that at you guys and do this poem called Spanish. Does anybody know who Celia Cruz is?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you watched that novela Celia, or maybe your parents watched the novela Celia that was on recently, which was really interesting, right? Because like one of the first times you see a Spanish language novela with black people on it. Normally you don't ever see that. But this was really special because it was about Celia Cruz and her whole career. And you actually saw, our African roots. As Latinos, we don't always acknowledge that. So it was really beautiful to me. But as a Cuban, I grew up with Celia Cruz in my house from the time I was born. Basically I was born, I started drinking coffee and listening to Celia Cruz at the same time. That's just kind of how it happened, I swear to God. My grandmother didn't know what to do with the warm milk that she would always warm up for her own coffee, so she would just take some of her coffee, put it in my bottle, and there it was. And now I can drink 6 or 7 cups of coffee and not feel anything go right to sleep. In fact, it puts me to sleep sometimes. That's thanks to my grandmother. Anyway, yeah, rest in peace. So this is a poem called Spanglish, and it starts with the Celia Cruz song. And this is how I start all my shows, just so you know that I've been doing this poem for 8 or 9 years, I don't know how long, but it basically gets me into a rhythm for what I want to do. Kimbara, kimbaro, ha, kimbara, kimbaro, ha, kimbara. Kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba, kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba, kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba, kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba. Yeah mama, yeah mama, eh mama, eh mama. Kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba, kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba, kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba, kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba. Yeah mama, yeah mama, yeah mama, eh mama. I unearthed my mother's tongue, hold it in my hand like a flopping fish, a gleaming survivor. I remember my first dance around the kitchen table. Benny Moré was singing on Mexican radio. Castellano que bueno, baila usted, castellano que bueno, baila usted. The double meaning I played. Castellano was the original name for Spanish. My grandmother was dancing. She said, agárreme por los hips. I did. She led. She had a big booty. And my first movement was Spanglish. It's got nothing to do with my broad back or my ability to endure hard labor. I'm not an unusual Mexican for being intelligent. My social consciousness is complex. Out of necessity, we moved from one nation to another, from one language to another, from one identity to another. And when I found my lover, she reminded me of my mother. Because Spanglish people recognize the Spanglish experience in each other. So I roll my R's like roles, cinco Cinco con guacamole. I blow lights out on the border, shine them on me, lenguaje. I swim in this cultural molasses. If I'm pure anything, homie. Soy puro Spanglish. More than a simple combination of idioms. This reality we witness and create. My grandmother never learned to speak proper English, but she taught me how to dance on the hyphen between Mexican, Cuban, American, between roots and assimilation, between congas y trompetas, between corn and harina, until it all looked like one movement. Castellano que bueno, baila usted, the double meaning at play. When everything is multicultural, but America remains monolingual. I mean, if everybody loves to wrap their favorite condiments in a tortilla, why don't they call it a burrito? Instead of Chicano, instead of Latino, they refer to us as those people. Those people are always fighting. Gangs. Those people are always drinking. Tequila. Those people are always having so many babies. Those people can't even speak English right. See, we built a tolerance for ignorance. But it's the myth of superiority that I can't stomach. From Ricky Ricardo to Richie Valens to Ricky Martin, we want to be accepted, but we're too brown for whites and too raro for real Mexicans. I mean, even Selena had to learn traditional Mexican music when racist Texans rejected her rock and roll. Spanglish is unorthodox. No one could understand us but us outcast mestizos. Con ride moro y cristiano, gallo pinto con huevo. Buenas noches, criollo. Spanglish is the echo from my grandmother's kitchen. My interpretation of a reality that ignores our contributions. Spanglish is what I do to reflect my mix. But this ain't no new marketing gimmick, no new stereotype. Mixing cultures can be hazardous when reality is black or white. Castellano que bueno, baila usted, the double meaning I play. So I roll my R's like roles, cinco con guacamole. I blow lights out on the border, shine them on me, lenguaje. I swim in this cultural molasses. If I'm pure anything, homie. Soy puro Spanglish. I always teach the students that I work with, particularly those who have bicultural identity, to really look at that as an asset and not a detriment. It's an asset. Your ability to maneuver two cultures actually makes you somebody who can live on the hyphen, who can demonstrate what it's like to connect people and cultures that are not the same. But we often think that that's a problem as our identity. And to me, like when I go speak particularly to students, is there any students in the house or are these all teachers? So there might be some students right there. Good, I'm glad. You should really see, particularly if you are biracial, bicultural, bilingual. That is an asset. That is power, and you can use that to advance and connect with many different communities. So I always believe that that's why we should know where we come from, know our culture, know your identity. That's something you can connect other people to. Both sides, if you've got 2, 3, 4. Some people got 4 or 5 different nationalities in them. And that's really an important thing. And so, what are those stories? What are those stories that include Korean and Cuban or, maybe Tongan and Black? Like, these are the types of stories we don't really hear, but this is our reality of our world. There's nothing pure anymore. And so I really think that type of mixture is more the norm now. And that is also an exciting norm. It's a beautiful opportunity for us to seek and really use this hyphenated identity as a place of an asset, of something you can use to benefit yourself and others. So that's what I've always kind of invested in since I started becoming a poet. And sharing that. Recently, well, I'm a dad now. I'm older, right? So how what I perform and present also has a relationship to the young people in my life, including my own children, right? And I grew up with all my older uncles. They beat the shit out of me, right? They used to beat me up. They used to, make me box them. put the boxing. I was 7 or 8 years old, and they were older, like 20. And they'd make me, come on, I'll show you how to box. And they would just knock the shit out of me, bam, bam. Just getting my butt kicked, crying. My grandmother would get the broom and whip their ass for beating me up. But I grew up with tough love, is what I'm saying. That basically, a lot of the identity of a man was based on how much pain could you endure without showing it. But that's not how I want to raise my own children. So this next poem, is about kind of breaking that down, based on my own experiences with the multiple men in my family. So this piece is called Four Fathers. When I was 9 years old, my mother decided to marry a man with a red beard. Abuelo Enrique, he said, never trust a man with a beard. They could be hiding something. Cortez had a beard. And you remember what happened to Cuauhtémoc, don't you? I kept looking for signs of insincerity, but I only found my stepfather's Viking grin. It was a staple of his old-time personality. He loved drinking Jack Daniels and then tooling around on his 1946 Roadster, more than me or my mother. 4 years later, we left the trim suburbs for a 2-bedroom apartment, Chef Boyardee on Sundays, coin laundry. I never asked my mother why we gave up financial security. House with 2 stories, chance at a nuclear family. Figured my mother found out the ugly truth about the bearded Viking and decided to let me decide what type of a man I would become. Would I choose to grow a beard or not? Maybe some prophecies are self-fulfilling. See, my own father was a phantom, a wannabe philosopher who only called when he was inspired. He wrote dense letters packed like cigarettes with epistemology that burned my image of a man into an ashtray. He was not an Indian, but he still couldn't grow a beard or a bank account to save his life. One day, your acquaintances might only be the people who serve you drinks. You will smell like old newspaper and damp corduroy, and you will only be held to account for the poetic solitudes of your fatherless insecurities. Except now you got a son. He wants to walk, more like run, hallway to the door, back and forth, but he is not yet one, so his kneecaps are still developing, so he falls and he bangs his head on the hardwood floor, howling at the pain and the fright of falling. I act like nothing happened, as if I could fool him out of his tears. My son's looking at me like I'm a bullet. Something inside me tells me he's right. See, I could be gone. Gone looking for God. Gone looking out for number one. Gone looking for the man I was supposed to be. Gone to write my days of solitary adventure, corner stack of dog-eared books, pot of cold coffee, cigarette smoke, and sandwich meat. Yeah, I could grow a beard. Tell myself that this is what sacrifice and personal freedom really look like. But I want my son to trust the traits I carry. I want to be present to pick him up from that howling place. I want him to sympathize and understand what dignity in the place of pride, what responsibility in the place of attitude, what a macho really looks like. So then I kiss his hands, and I kiss his knees, and I kiss his little feet. So he knows that men can be trusted not to leave, too. Southern California. And what I think is really interesting about the next few stories I'm going to tell you is about some of you may leave this town. In fact, a good friend of mine who I met here when I came, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, her name's Dahlia. She was living here in Oxnard, right across the street from the strawberry fields. And, you know, she was trying to write, trying to be creative, trying to like just expand her consciousness and her mind. And she ended up moving to Oakland, you know, and now she lives in Oakland since a trip. I met her here, over at Cafe on It, right? I've never been there before. You guys know where that is? So you know, I performed there many times. The folks who brought me out here were from the college. Was at Cal State Channel Islands. They brought me out, and I would do a lot of stuff over at Cafe on It. And I met several people from Oxnard. We would hang out, and we'd develop friendships over years. And now she lives up in Oakland, and she's got, you know, she realizes Oakland's very different from Oxnard, not the same. But I left a similar small area, like, you know, Chula Vista, which is, you know, bigger now, but when I left it was kind of small. Because I wanted to be an artist, you know. I thought that the culture that I was living in Southern California, particularly near the border, was too militaristic. It was too violent, too oppressive. I mean, in my town where I grew up, we had, you know, you had the Navy base, right? At Coronado Navy Base. You had the airfield, the Miramar Airfield, which had all the Blue Angels and all the big jets. And then you also had Camp Pendleton, which had all the Marines. So you had Navy, Marines. You had these jets. You had the Border Patrol right here, and then you had the FBI. You had the DEA, and all my friends wanted to be either a Border Patrol agent or an FBI because that's all they thought that's what everybody did in our town. It's like basically you go join law enforcement and go arrest people who look like you. And what was trippy is that, you know, some of my Mexican friends couldn't wait to become Border Patrol agents. And I was like, but Doug, your dad immigrated here. I don't think he came with papers. Yeah, but I want to go get a job with it. Okay. So that wasn't me, you know. I wanted to like really assess that. And then some crazy things happened around me, particularly in the early to mid 90s, that changed my mind entirely when some of my friends got caught up, you know, crossing drugs. When we just started with the narcos moving into Tijuana, and some of my friends got caught up in that. One of them died. And that wasn't the reason why I left entirely, but I was realizing that the ability to be an artist in San Diego is very limited. So I left, and I wanted to really explore my voice. Part of this story I'm going to tell you right now is about that. I'm not going to be able to do the whole thing for you, but I wanted to just kind of like give you an idea that when I left San Diego, I was like really, you know, naive and not sure what I was going to find in 1995 in San Francisco. So this piece that I'm going to do, the next few of them are going to be about what I first found in San Francisco, just as gentrification was starting to become a word. Anyway. Okay, Aaron.
I know you dig it when I dig it, baby. That's that. I know you dig it when I dig it, baby. That's that. I know you dig it when I dig it, baby. That's that. I know you dig it when I dig it, baby. That's that. I know you dig it when I dig it, baby. That's that. I know you dig it when I dig it, baby. That's that. I know you dig it when I dig it, baby. That's that. I know you dig it when I dig it, baby.
1995, 22 years old, fresh college graduate from the border of Cali in Mexico. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with my moms. She raised me by herself. Thank you, Madrecita. Last year, my first poem was a protest against anti-immigrant, anti-Latino Proposition 187. San Diego might as well have been Dixieland. So in 1995, this soul-searching poeta left Southern Cali, looking for a crew, Looking for an audience, una vanguardia who could swing to some Spanglish. Dance salsa and shell-toe Adidas and Kango caps. Who knew the Popol Vuh, Grandmaster Flash? Who knew the Popol Vuh, Grandmaster Flash and Kerouac? Who could diddy bop, schizo scat, hip hop do that, do that. 1995, San Francisco, where the streets are named for poets and writers who made this city a magical bohemia. But it was the colors of the barrio that spoke to my blood. Red, orange, yellow, passion celebrated, heroes inaugurated on the walls. From Dolores Huerta to Pancho Villa, Rigoberto Menchú, and Carlos Santana. Salsa music blows out windows. People hollering at you from across the street. Oye, pero ¿de qué parte de Cuba tú eres? Every corner inspiration. I can't wait to get loose, to taste the spirit in these streets. See, from homeboys to mamas with babies, Beauty and the Beast roam these streets.
Adelante, juventud siempre pa'lante. Adelante, juventud siempre pa'lante. Unidos todos los hombros, haremos una gran.
Daisy Zamora, Iaconda Belly, Claribel Alegria. You want to buy some poetry? I got Claribel Alegria. Yo estuve mucho rato en el chorro del río. You ever read that before? No, you think I'm crazy like that dude who's standing in the doorway of the furniture store on Valencia Street strumming his guitar looking like John Cougar Mellencamp on crack, don't you? You're looking at my library, baby. I will trade you a book for a burrito or a piece of pan dulce. That Central American poets taught me about surviving with dignity. I ain't out here trying to sell poetry to nostalgic-minded immigrants. No, honey. They don't need reminding. I got history. When I was young, San Francisco was alive with revolution. We started student strikes. We held up banks to post bail for Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. People hijacked planes to Cuba and shit. We had Asada, she was the revolution. We had Audre Lorde, she was the revolution. We had Lolita Lebron, she was the revolution. Now I'm still a strong woman. I'm still the revolution. What you got here now? Los que no tienen patria ni nación, sino solo una finca. Folks with no history, no country, just real estate. Now, Rocky Dalton said that. I want to walk with a bone through my hair, teased out, naked, except for a loincloth, declaiming the poetry of my ancestors, with the spear in my hand, gathering the kin together to tell the story of our migrations, the wars we courageously fought, the livestock we own, the songs we sing, and the tapestries we make. You see, I want to represent my tribe with property. Wouldn't that be something? If I stood out here and I told you the truth about property, wouldn't that be real? You want to buy some poetry? Is you a businessman under that goatee? You want your eyelids tattooed? How about your private parts pierced, that body manipulations? You see, I got a jaguar tattooed on my soul. Rawr! My lips been pierced with a quetzal feather, dipped in America's veins. I used it to spell my name on a check for 40 acres and a mule. Yes, the bank took my picture and they Xeroxed it. It was performance art. Hold your wallet close around here. You treat it like an anchor. Otherwise, you might start to believe what I got is really worth something. You might could buy yourself a clue. If you're one of them undercover type brothers, well, we got plenty of other games for you to play. You see, around the corner is Oliver North's cousin. He got contraband from Iran. As a matter of fact, would you give him one of these? Pobrecita. Remember to tell him I sent you. You know, today it's free. And you don't like that book, well, I'll give you your money back. Guaranteed. I got Daisy Zamora, Chicano the Belly, Clary Bell Olive Grill. Who wants to buy some poetry? Mira, Rosie, ¿ya ves? A computer printer on the street for free. El tuyo no está roto. Un escritorio and a machine share. Ay, mija. San Francisco es una maravilla, ¿verdad? Esos gringos sí son ricos. They look at this like trash. Pero para nosotros, esas cosas todavía tienen valor. Sí. ¿Y qué le pasa aquí? Parece que eran artistas viviendo en ese apartamento. Sí, es triste, hija. I don't think this painter had too many friends. I don't like this painter. Oh, what did you think about this microwave? Es una marca buena. GE, lo vi uno así de Mervyn's por más de $100, fíjate. ¿Lo llevamos? Ay, hija, no es un crimen llevar cosas gratis de la calle. I know they can send me back to my country anytime, pero hija, nobody's going to jail, and nobody's coming back for this microwave. Ay, we can sell these things a nuestro vecino, don Leonides, que siempre está vendiendo cosas en su garaje. Ándale, hija. Ay, no te portas así, hija. Ay, sí. Ay, my mother is going through the junk on the street. I'm so embarrassed. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. ¿Vos crees que yo soy vaga? Así superamos, hija, aprovechando de todo. If we leave this thing in the street, they're going to think we are stupid. Yo no soy pendeja. ¿Y qué pasa aquí? Mira para eso. A jewelry box. Ay, my mother. She has a jewelry box like this that she gets from her mother on her wedding. I used to play with all my mother's jewelry. La suya tenía una cancioncita, a ver si eso tiene un song. A ver. ¡Qué bonita! What will I leave you? Rosie, I crawl into the bottom of a bus in Tegucigalpa. I hide next to the toilet, underneath the maletas, cuando I was pregnant with you. Para que me preguntaras eso. What will I leave you? Rosie, gracias a nosotros sos American citizen. Ajá, pero ya eres muy agringada. You have so many things has no price. Somos una familia humilde, hija. Ya sé que tú quieres Macy's, pero nosotros somos Value Village. Ándale, hija. Vamos a llamar a Don Leonidas para que can buy these things from us. Mira, ándale, ayúdame. Ándale esas cosas. Y no te olvides, estos botes de cerveza aquí, los beer cans, mija, valen 5 centavos cada uno. CRV. Those are 3 characters from the show called You're Gonna Cry. And it's this show that specifically talks about like what happened when tech-generated gentrification took over the Latino barrio of the Mission District in San Francisco in the 90s. Now we're in full-blown, tech occupation of San Francisco. We thought that in the 90s it wasn't such a big deal, that the dot-com boom would become a bust, which it did. Everything would go back to normal. All these nerdy geek people would move back to Minnesota and Wisconsin and leave the neighborhood alone. They'd all jump back in webvan their ass back to the Midwest. But it didn't happen. And even though the dot-com boom busted on us, and the rents kind of went down a little bit, like 2 years later, or 4 years later, we had the biotech thing start, and then all after that, Google and Facebook and Yahoo and LinkedIn and all these different tech companies just basically took over our city. And now if you want to rent a 1-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, it's going to cost you $3,200 a month. And that's a 1-bedroom, just so you know that. So we're fighting to maintain a sense of community still when it's really been kind of destroyed entirely. But I wanted to talk about that beginning of it. So I wrote this piece, and I think it's important. But I tell everybody who's from our neighborhood, I keep telling them, we gotta tell our story about what life is like here before no one's here to remember it, right? And it really is that kind of desperate, I'll be honest with you, to the point where we're turning streets now. We have to apply for cultural heritage status so that a certain number of Latino-owned stores and cultural places won't get lost to crazy landlords. Because if without the status, if you don't give it some sort of government status, then there's no way to protect any heritage. They can erase the murals that we've put up about the whole Central American immigrants, all the Chicano artists, all the murals of Santana that are on the Mission. Those could all be taken away if someone decides they want to replace this grocery store with 6 lofts. And so the only way to protect against that without having $6 billion in the bank is to ask for these statuses. So we've been doing all we can to really organize that. But here's an example of how bad it got. When I was in I think it was like 98 or something, there was this bar called Liquid Bar. And Liquid Bar was right in the hood. I mean, it was like literally, people used to deal crack right outside of it, and a lot of the day laborers would go to the old bar that it used to be to play pool. If they didn't get a job, that's where they would go, basically spend the day. It was pretty much a total, hood spot, for lack of a better word. That's where you see people drinking in the daytime, playing pool, whatever. This dude came in to take advantage of kind of like the new kind of culture, and he changed that bar into the Liquid Bar, and his name was Peter Glitster. And in 1998, a couple of immigrantes went to that bar where they'd always gone for years to drink after work. And when they went in there, they didn't speak any English. The security guard didn't speak any Spanish, so they got in to drink. But then one of them got loud and started asking for different songs on the jukebox, and then there was this altercation where the owner told them to leave. They wouldn't leave, so he went and got a crowbar and he beat them all in the head. And so these guys all went to all went to the hospital, right? But Peter Glitchstern, no charges happened to him. Nothing happened. These guys, basically, one of them ended up like in a coma for a minute, and there was no accountability. And so people started to identify gentrification with racism and violence. Nevertheless, this whole change in kind of like economic status of neighborhoods is violent, and it affects people violently. So I'm going to this poem called Crowbar Thing. Can I ask you a question? Are you doing that crowbar thing? Liquid thing? 16th Street corridor crawl thing? That grimy thing? That thing about being hip without trying too hard? That whole ironic thing? About telling him, telling her, telling us, telling them that we must clean up the mission because cool people need a cool place to drink thing. Looking for a good time thing. I'm tired of the marina thing. A Polaroid, postcard, crackheaded, prostitute thing. Hipsters in the dicey barrio thing. It's just like the Lower East Side thing, graffiti on the front door, hot music and cool DJs thing, an optimistic thing, because can't you see the benefit of more green space and bike lane thing? Besides, how could gentrification be violent if artists started it? Are you doing that crowbar thing? That cash in your Oracle stock and buy a bar in the mission thing? That protect your investment even if it means displacement thing? That it's not personal, strictly business thing? That just trying to live the American dream thing? The white man's burden thing? The new sheriff in town thing? The show 'em your gun thing? The violence and destitution, it's so sexy thing? The civilized the savages thing? The vigilante thing? The cross and the crowbar thing? That Arnold Schwarzenegger thing? Are you doing that crowbar thing? That English only thing? That snitch to la migra when you can't stand your Latino clients or employees thing? That drug dealers, prostitutes, Mexicans, they're all the same thing? That Donald Trump thing? That electronic hate mail thing? That reverse racism thing? That hijole thing? That no mames way thing? That que tú esperabas way thing? That Mexican beer is much better at room temperature thing? That glitch-turn club hopping, immigrant crowbar bashing thing? Are you doing that crowbar thing? Doing that forget about the Centro del Pueblo and volunteer at the pirate store instead thing? Doing that post-Chicano thing because I'm not political, I'm an artist thing? That more green spaces thing because murals don't prevent violence thing? That doing the bike lane thing because lowriders aren't ecologically beneficial thing? Doing the save the whales thing because my parents graduated from Berkeley thing? Doing that indie rock thing because hip hop is so misogynistic now thing? Doing that retro 80s thing because I got big fish to fry and I gotta get mine thing? Doing that righteous thing? Yeah, because sometimes immigrants deserve to get bashed in the head with a crowbar thing. You doing that crowbar thing? Yeah, man, that's what it is. And that's figuratively and literally what it feels like. Right? I got evicted, and that's part of what the show was about. And not to like feel, super sad about it. 10 more minutes. I'm going to do these last two poems, and I'm kind of hungry, so I write these poems, right? I write poems, and often these poems I create forms out of so that I can teach spoken word. So I teach spoken word at the University of San Francisco. I teach hip hop theater and spoken word, and I've been doing that for 8 years. We're the only craft-based hip hop theater classes you can take in the United States. But so I work on comparing hip hop culture to like Latino culture, for instance, right? Or even Italian culture. And I look at traditions. What are the traditions in hip hop? What are the traditions in your own culture, right? So sometimes I ask kids, students, what's the traditions in your family that you're proud of, that are positive, right? Traditions that you enjoy. And so they'll write usually about food, right? Oh yeah, every Christmas is tamales, or it's the Italians. We like to have seafood for Christmas. Seafood? Oh, okay. I want to have seafood for Christmas too. How do I do this? So I asked them to write this poem based on this one I wrote That's about what my family does on New Year's Eve, which is cook this humongous serving of arroz con pollo, right? So in the Cuban tradition, arroz con pollo, who knows what that means? What is it? Rice and chicken. Pretty much every community has that, you know what I'm saying? But not exactly the way we do it. So this poem is kind of like celebrating that tradition of food and how it connects us back to our past, but also kind of how it makes us happy and excited and can't wait to eat this shit. I always do this poem when I'm hungry, so usually at the end of the show, just because, you know, I haven't eaten, and so I'm thinking about what I'd like to eat. Anyway, this is a Cuban style of arroz con pollo. It's like in a recipe form. Okay. Has anybody heard this poem before? Okay. Okay. Starts with the song. Levántate a trabajar, José. La carne que cortar tú ves, que preparamos a comer. Arroz con frijoles de un bulla café. Arroz con pollo, pa' fin de año. Yuca con mojo, cerveza, para todo el vecindario. Levántate a trabajar, José. La carne que cortar tú ves, que preparamos a comer. Arroz con frijoles de un bulla café. Arroz con pollo, pa' fin de año. Yuca con mojo, cerveza, para todo el vecindario. Come to my house for dinner, compa. Estamos cocinando arroz con pollo, tostones, frijoles negros. We'll have antojitos on red mantos, mojitos to brighten your mente with mint. Tune your ear to clave, clap on your lap, lightly and on time like ajo and lime on everything. We will greet you with the scent of warm olive oil and garlic, roasted red and green pepper, sauteed with cumin, onion, and oregano. The aroma will pimp your appetite, make you want to pasear, chat at the lip of a ventana, feel the coquettish breeze, admire palm leaves that wave like sábanas in the wind. Ahora sí, Acere, te invito a mi casa. Plantains mashed by hand, rubbed like fingers over a cajon. We use paper, not a tostonera, because we like tostones hella thin. Black beans, soaking overnight, softening to your taste, so sweet with red wine vinegar and rum. They even simmered in the muanga of Orquesta Aragon. Come to my house for dinner, mi herma. Seguro que we won't disappoint you. Tonight, my señorita is cooking arroz con pollo, estilo cubano. So delicious, so exquisite, so perfect, because she is the one who makes this dish. A reflection of her soul. Golden, rice moist but not wet, con guisantes and Spanish chorizo roasting, frying, baking, ese chicken rubbed with paprika, para que te pica, spice in the bite, sharp and crisp como café, después de una siesta, awake in the taste and textures. Open your palate like windows open on humid green mountainsides. Come, share the table with us. Savor the cuisine. Ay ambiente must be a celebration. I wrote this poem to be like an invitation. So you could bring your mother. You could bring your lover. And you could bring your sister. Because this is a meal you will want to remember. Thank you. Let's do a real quick one about Donald Trump. This is really fast, okay? Dear Donald Trump, I hope you meet El Chapo one day. I hope you see him not like a cold-blooded killer looks, not what a billionaire looks like, not an emperor like you, Donald Trump. He doesn't look intimidating at all. He's short. That's why they call him El Chapo. Short for chaparro, but he got a big bigote. A bushy mustache. I hope you meet El Chapo one day, Mr. Trump. See how Mexican he looks. I hope you see him trim your bushes. I hope you see him clean your pool. I hope you see him mow your lawn. I hope you see him cook your food. I hope you see him take care of your house too. Like a gardener, chugging along through your home, nearly invisible, like an immigrant, like a humble man, like an innocent man escapes your attention so easily because he's too busy to post selfies and make outrageous statements on the internet, from Twitter. He's got people that do that for him. Until he's right in front of you. Suddenly, I hope you meet a Chapo one day, Mr. Trump. I hope you see his smile. I hope you shit your pants. I hope you meet a Chapo one day. Right? Fantasy poem, that's all. Fantasy. Last poem I'm going to do, and this is kind of a celebration of, like, you know, despite all the pain that many of my friends have gone through eviction, through being losing their connection to their family because of the incredible pressure to try to stay in San Francisco amidst the tech kind of colonization. I wrote this poem called "We Still Be," and it's a true story. With the piece I'm writing about is that one of the things landlords resort to is burning your house, and I'll be very clear about that. I spent a lot of time working with this group called Causa Justa, Just Cause, and their whole work was about what are the different ways in which landlords and the city policies are using to get people out of their homes, long-term residents, so they could take over those properties and give them some to developers and make a bunch of money. So my friend was a victim of this type of neglect that led to his home burning down and him losing his place, not being able to go back there fixed, and then they moved in people who could afford 3 times what he paid. So this piece is called "We Still Be" because I don't ever want to forget that even though he got kicked out of the neighborhood he was born and raised in, out of his house, he didn't quit. He didn't move to Oakland or Richmond or LA. He did his best to stay in the neighborhood because he believed he wanted to raise his children there, and he didn't want to leave his cultural memory behind. So this is called "We Still Be." It's from our boy Norman Zelaya. My empire of fog-crowned hills, through webs of electric muni lines, that tang of Phil's roasted coffee grinds, scorched breath of San Francisco poets, amidst passion of Juana Alicia, Roberto Vargas, Juan Felipe Herrera, legacy of Ginsberg, Kaufman, Diane de Prima, devotion to its exotics, its unions and gangster politics, where a dancer could steal your heart and hold it for ransom at a gallery called Crucible Steel. This muse is more than just an obsession, more like a blood oath to embrace Carnaval, where even the most straight-laced will cross-dress for the sake of adventure. This is San Francisco's heartbeat. This is San Francisco's heartbeat. My homie's house burned down. My homie's house burned down, and we read poetry in the ashes. We raised his spirits with bottles of tequila and coronas, salted tears to quench harsh throats. We told jokes, and Marcus played hard bebop. You see, the poetry heals, and the bebop revives. And my homie, he wailed for his dog lost in the broken pilot light-induced inferno, but poetry heals and the bebop revives. Poetry heals and the bebop revives. See, we never go softly into that dark night. This is San Francisco's heartbeat. This is San Francisco's heartbeat. They say blacks and Mexicans don't belong anymore. Say can't afford to raise a family in a decent-sized home anymore. But muni drivers are black and Latino teachers got white kids speaking Spanish. At least until Chicano becomes a 4-letter word. If you peel the flyers off the telephone poles, you'll find broadsides. You'll find broadsides protesting gentrification of the Guayabera. 1921 or 21 19-year-olds. My broadsides were bilingual when it was illegal. You don't know how to stop this flow. A poetry evangelist with Mexican contraband selling delicado cigarettes by the pound. Yo soy delicado. Yo soy delicado. We took Manicudo to the tool shed and we made Relámpago Negro. That's black lightning. Relámpago Negro. Enrique Quique Padilla. This is San Francisco's heartbeat. This is San Francisco's heartbeat. Everybody always want to know. Everybody always asks me, what's so good about San Francisco? It's the poets. It's the poets. It's the poets. It's the poets. It's the crazy, drunk, loud-ass poets from the Mission, Fillmore, Hunters Point, North Beach. I wasn't born here, but I ain't no tourist. I wasn't born here, but I ain't no tourist, and I know my way around. Broke so many hearts, but keep coming back for more. We speak easy at Bruno's in the corner of the bar. Her style is Latin swing with strapless dressing, high heels. She brown skin, so beautiful. Want her to wear my ring. Represent a swag with mestizo babies in a sling. We jazz fest in North Beach with tapas on the grass. We festival in Stern Grove. We carnival. We Baby Beach. Our baby's growing so fast. And we like to show them off on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, Google+. The Bay Area got them all. San Francisco is our heart. So many come to claim her throne. So many have to move to Oakland. Home is where I'm loved the most. So rise, San Francisco, like trolley train over Pacific Heights. We look to you for inspiration when life is about struggle. You make it possible to desire something different. You make it possible to believe because we still believe. Yeah, we still believe because we still believe. Yes, we still believe because we still be. Yeah, we still be. 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 We still be the heartbeat of San Francisco. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I got a couple books if you guys are interested in purchasing. They're $10. This is a novel about what I grew up seeing on the border when Tijuana changed from basically, like an immigrant town to like basically a narco drug trafficking town, and how at the same time while that was going on, they started Operation Border Keeper, trying to keep people from crossing, and how the border got militarized. So this is kind of like based on a true story. It's called Along the Border Lies. This was my first novel. I brought a few of these in case you wanted to get one. But I really do want to thank Shelly. Thank you so much for having me here. You've been awesome. Hearing out the folks like me from San Francisco.